Hello, hello. Happy Thursday. It is Joraine with the Costales team at Real Broker, and we are here on another episode or another week of the Costales team. Well, Thursday talks with the Costales team, and my husband Marc will be joining us in a few minutes. And this episode, I guess you could say, or today's topic is going to be. We'll just wait for him to show up. If you guys can hear me, go ahead and let me know in the comments. Um, Ready to go. All right. Hello. All
What's up?
right. So today's topic is real estate myths debunked.
Oh no, I don't know none of this stuff.
Lots of real estate myths for sure swirling around, even before the, you know, dreaded August 17th date that people were talking about, right?
Yeah, what are some myths? Still some myths out there. You need 20% down. Um, you,
Yeah.
you don't need a realtor to help you buy a house. You could sell your house on your own, save yourself the commissions. Why why not just use Redfin? They charge 1%. That's a real
That's a
estate
good one.
myth.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these, right? Like people hear and they assume is true, but they're not. Like all of those things that you said, you hit the nail on the head. Oh, we have our first question.
We'll comment.
So, yes, realtors are overpaid, question mark. Real estate agents make a ton of money on every sale. This is hilarious. I actually was looking at another agent's um, you know, reel or content, and someone had commented, "Oh yeah, you make 30,000 just for showing a kitchen or something like that, right?" And then you see all the people that are commenting, and the guy's like, it didn't cost 30,000 to show that kitchen. It was for the 80 houses before that one, right? He goes, I spent that in gas alone, right? Like that's 30,000 in gas, and it makes so much sense, right? Like because people don't think about the cost; they just see the one lump sum, and they don't see where it goes, right? So it's like there's broker fees, there's transaction fees, there's, especially if you have a team like us, we have our staff that we pay, we have our transaction coordinator, our marketing admin, all the people that helped make the sale. And so, and then you talk about taxes and other expenses. And I was looking at the numbers, and that check is really $3,600 or whatever the case may be once you take out all those other expenses. And then you divide that by how many months that it took you to get that sale, whether it was, 3 months working with a buyer or 6 months. And it was like, $1,200 a month or some number like that, where, that's really not a whole lot. So I definitely will be an advocate that says that money isn't just that money. It There's a lot of things that go into it, and realtors are not overpaid for what they
Well,
do.
I think so. Let's put this in perspective, right? Um, and let's agree to disagree. That when we place value on certain things, it doesn't matter what you tell us. If we place value on something, then we can only have like a small realization and maybe like a aha moment. But for the most part, if you place value on that, then you're not gonna care what anybody else thinks, right? For example, I think we had this conversation the other day, Joraine, about just random conversation about how some people we know, right? They're some people. Well, not some people I know, but I mean, just you see people in the social media. You see people with like all these cars and all these things and like all these flashy things, but it's like those people place value on those things, whether it be a car, whether it be um, you know, uh, cooking classes, school, right? Shoes, like all those things, you place value on them, and it really doesn't matter because honestly, in my opinion, right? I follow a lot of sneakerheads, and I'm not a sneakerhead by any means. Like I'll buy cheap shoes, right? Like I actually have to do a video. I bought some TikTok shoes for like $9, And like everybody says, it's the most comfortable shoe. I mean, I'm all about comfort because I'm a big dude, right? I place value on comfort for me, right? So, um, but when people talk about like, oh, realtors get paid so much, but it's like nobody knows what a realtor is going through, right? They take time away from their family, right? They place value on that. How much value does that cost for you, right? I remember we were at a presentation many years ago, and it wasn't even a real estate conference. It wasn't a real estate speaker. It was somebody in a financial district. Oh, I'm sorry, financial. I don't even know what to call it. The financial space, right? And he was saying, he's like, you got to think about like if I'm going to be leaving my family for a certain period of time, whether it be an hour, 2 hours, like what does that cost to you, right? Missing a child's like recital, missing a game. Do you place value on those things, right? So, I mean, again, in this same aspect, we're asking about realtors, right? You're trusting somebody for a, let's call it 30,000, right? Talking about $1 million home, right? Think about that. Somebody's obtaining something for you for $1 million, and yet you're charging a $30,000 fee, right? Some realtors are able to negotiate sometimes 10, 15, $30,000. Do they get paid that? No, that goes into minus the pockets of the buyer, but they don't care. So again, value on that is flip the script. You know, I mean, if I'm a consumer and I am a consumer as well, so of course we want to pay the least amount. Now, if the world were like that, it wouldn't be that way, right? But what I'm saying is, you place value on those things. I place value on the professionals that I place value on a mechanic because I know nothing about cars that's going to do that. So I mean, again, it really just where you place your value. Realtors are valuable. We wouldn't be here unless we weren't, right? Have a bot take over a personality or a charisma, somebody that's going to be able to give you a gift or make you feel comfortable, working with them. Like, oh, does a robot do that? So those are some of the things that I think we show value on negotiating, right? There's a whole bunch of different things, right? So, yeah. Hmm.
Next question.
Who is this? Nobody ever says it's a good time to buy or a good time to sell.
Realtors
It,
always say it's a good time to buy or a good time to sell. Is there even a bad time to buy or sell? What do you think?
I
Is
did.
there a good time or a bad time to buy or sell?
What do you think? You talk because I was just talking.
I mean, it kind of depends, right? Because there's always a market for someone. And depending on where you're located or when you bought or how much equity you have or how much money you make, right? Like all those things put together are going to build the story of whether or not it's a good time for you to buy or sell or build the answer. And so trying to think,
Well,
is there a good time to buy or sell? I mean, even if you bought last year, right, where interest rates were higher than they are today. We know interest rates have been dropping over these past few weeks or months. And so let's just say you bought last year and you paid more in interest. Like, did you pay less or more for your house? Right? And depending on when you bought, your home's building in value. So the sooner you get in, the longer you have for your home to build value and when you own it, right? So there's a lot of different things to think about when it's people say it's a good time to buy or sell. I remember during 2020, 2021, agents were saying this market sucks. It's such a hard market. The buyers are getting outbid. They have to pay 100,000 over asking. It's awful. And these are agents that are saying it, right? Not even the buyers or the consumers. But we helped people buy homes during that time. And they're so glad that they got into their home when they did because they look at the prices and they say, there's no way we would be able to afford the home that we're in now had we waited a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to get into that home. So, we always say it's a good time to buy or sell when it's a good time for you in your life, depending on what's happening. Like, if you need to sell your home because you need the cash or there's a life situation, then by all means sell the home. It doesn't matter what the market is doing. Put it on the market. You need to get that home off your hands. We've had clients that were like in pre-foreclosure, that were drowning in debt, that they're just working in order to pay their bills and they didn't want to do that anymore. And they said, I need to sell this home. And we said, okay, right? Or someone had passed away or someone was getting divorced, right? Like all these life situations, doesn't matter what the market's doing at that time, unless they can afford to hold it and rent it out. Or obviously there's other options that we always talk about before selling or buying. But if that's what needs to be done, then that's what needs to be done, regardless of what the market is doing. And, when it comes to buying, the sooner you can get into your home, the sooner it can start building equity and you can start, saving money and paying yourself back and not having to pay a landlord or pay rent, right? Like all these things. So, yeah, for me, I feel like generally it's always a good time to buy or sell, but it really depends on your situation. Like if you don't have a job or it's going to cost you every single penny that you have and you're going to be super overstretched with that payment and you can barely make the payments, okay, maybe not. Might not be a good time to buy. Maybe you need a second job. Maybe you need a co-signer. Maybe you need a roommate, right? Like there are a lot of different scenarios that we talk about before we say, yeah, you should totally buy, you should totally sell. There are some clients that we say, maybe not right now. Maybe you have to wait. You got to work on saving more money for a down payment. You got to fix your credit score, like different scenarios, things that we work with people on, right? But
Yeah.
generally
It's
speaking,
it's a
I
loaded
believe in home
question.
ownership, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always going to say, yes, you should buy. But again,
Yeah.
it's not for everyone.
I think it's a loaded question.
It is.
There's so many different things that can go right, but also can go wrong, right? Because you got to go back to the reason why you want to buy or sell, right? Do you have to buy because your landlord's raising the rent and you can't afford it? Do you have to sell because your neighbor next door just keeps on singing and you really don't like it? Like, what is the motivation for you to buy or sell, right? That's a question I would ask. Like, hey, you want to buy or sell? Why? Can I ask you a reason? Do you want to get kicked out of your mom's parents' house? You're tired of being a 35-year-old loser, being in being in your parents' basement, or being in that third bedroom that your parents are kind of just letting you use, and you're not saving any money. Like, do you like what is the motivation for you to move, or what is the motivation to sell? Right? Like I said, it's a loaded question. I know people that make a ton of money that don't have enough even in their savings to do anything, and I'm like, you just can't, right? But also, I mean,
You
you got to
literally
ask
had
also.
that conversation with someone yesterday. They want to sell their house, buy another one. And you said, do you have enough to be able to afford the monthly payment on the new house?
Hmm.
And maybe they make a lot of money, but you're like, well, where's your savings? Where's your money? And you're like, you can't. You're not going to be able to afford the monthly payment on that new house. It's going to triple what you're currently paying.
And you know what?
And yeah, and what you're going to sell your house for is not going to be enough, right?
Right,
Like you are coaching them through these things.
and I think a lot of realtors just need to tell people that, right? We're very lucky. Well, not lucky. I would say we're very blessed in the Bay Area where house prices have not like dipped, and yeah, there was prices aren't as as they are, right? But I mean, again, honestly, it really doesn't matter. Just think about all the markets that we've been through just in the past 20 years, right? We're talking probably one of the biggest recessions we had. Did anybody buy houses during the recession or the 2006, 7, and 8, and 9? Oh, yeah. Did anybody buy houses during a global pandemic as well as a global election? Oh, yeah. So, I mean, again, do people still buy houses now that the interest rates were, 6%, 8%, 9%? Oh, yeah. Back then in the 80s, I think 89 it was like 89, or was it 16% was the interest rate? So it doesn't matter. People are going to buy houses no matter what market it's in. And again, depending on where you are, right? I mean, there's some people that we know that it might not be a good time to sell because, they purchased a home and like under 2 years later, they're able like, you know what, I got to sell my house because I'm moving. And I'm like, well, we could try to sell it, but you're competing with so many different elements. It's really hard to do that. You're also battling, capital gains taxes. That's it's gonna be hitting you as well. So that might not be a good time to sell either, right? So I mean, there's so many different things. I need a little bit more, context when it comes to that. So
Yeah. That's why we schedule one-on-one consultations with
yeah,
buyers, sellers. If you're thinking of selling, thinking of buying, we kind of talk through these things because we've had people that, tried selling their home and we said, you know what, you should probably just rent it out and just hold on to it until the market improves, or you can get the price that you want because they put all this money into it and they have all this debt and they're not going to be able to make a profit or even break even. I mean, we've had some people that have had to sell their home and not make a profit, or even have to pay to sell their home.
Right. And man, we also heard horror stories where people have like lived in their home for over 30, over 40 years. And when the market was what the market was when they're selling their home, they didn't like the price that they got, but that's what the market spoke and that's what the market's going to be paying you for. So it's like, don't be mad at what the market is saying because of the things that you did to get to that point, right? Maybe you refinance so much that there is like no equity in your home, right? What did you do with that refinance money? You owned it for 40, 50 years, and yet you didn't do any, you didn't put none of that money back into that home. You didn't reinvest it, and you're mad because you only have a what, 20,000, 30,000, $40,000 in your pocket after all these years to show after it. I mean, that's not my fault that you went out and bought cars and went on lavish trips and took your sugar mama somewhere. Like, I don't know, but I'm just telling you that some people need to be get hit with that reality of like, you know what? I don't know what you did before, and it's showing up now. As long as I can help you now, and I'll tell you. And again, I never tell somebody no, right? We never are somebody to turn somebody away and say, you know what? Right now, you need to just, I won't say flat out, nope, don't buy. I'd be like, you know what? Right? We need to work on your credit. We need you to get some work experience. Maybe you should, try to save up. What you can do is, and I set up a plan. It's like, hey, you need to save up a down payment. Okay, how much? And we break it down. I'm trying to help, what I can. But at the end of the day, if you're not willing to put in the work to get to that point, then I can't wanting to buy a house more than you. I can't, because your motivation is going to be lacking, and you're going to be looking at housing and you're like, yeah, this is all right. We want to be able to be, we want to have that quality time versus all the time that we spend. Like that guy said, 80 houses. I've never shown 80 houses to one client. The most I've ever shown was 27, and I got him the contract twice. So nobody has beaten it yet. I mean, one of them, somebody's getting close, but I mean, again, 27 homes, that's still a lot. So there's a whole bunch of other questions here. Another one is real estate investing is an easy way to get rich. What do you think? Is it a myth or can it be a reality? It's about work. Anything that you do can get you rich. You can be on OnlyFans and be rich. You can steal money from somebody and be rich, right? What's your definition of rich, right? If you're trying to say, real estate investing it's an easy way to get money. I'm not sure. How are you doing that, right? Because there is a process, right? You can't just say, I want to make money in real estate, and then it's going to happen just like that, right? You got to study it. You got to know what's going on. You got to know the nuances, especially with the laws that are out. It's like, are you adjusting to that? How are you as a person that is flipping homes? Like, how are you adjusting to the market? Do you care? Do you not care? Or are you letting your realtor deal with that, right? So, I mean, again, there's so many different things. I mean, you can get rich by, a majority. I will tell you, a majority of the world, anybody that is successful, invests in real estate, and that's flat out the truth. I mean, you ask some of these entrepreneurs that are out there, yeah, they might be investing in like Bitcoin and all those things, but at the end of the day, I guarantee you they bought homes before and they're investing in homes. The only person I probably don't think invests or buy it, well, maybe Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone actually buys like complex. I mean, we're talking massive, massive yeah, it's huge hotels and stuff like that. So maybe that's different, but it's still real estate, right? So what do you think?
No, it's not easy at all. It requires a lot of work, or it requires a lot of risk, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless you have endless amounts of money and you don't really care where your money's going, right? Yeah, it's easy to just invest in anything. But again, with every investment, there's always a risk. Even real estate, depending on what type of investment that is. If it's something like Airbnb, we've had our share of horror stories doing that. We've also, know a lot of people who have been very successful with that. Um, you know, Long-term rentals, we also have had our share and have some stories we can share about that. And we have, that's kind of working out for us, but yeah. And then there are some people that are just passive, right? They just want to put money into a project and get their return when they can. But again, you either are waiting or there's a risk there, right? Depending on the type of project. And then you don't have your money during that time, right? Because someone else is using it, and that's why you invest it. It's tied up into some project. So again, I don't know what the definition of easy is. What does easy like mean? So yeah.
All right. So another question is, I think we answered this. What if the market is not good for sellers, and I want to sell? Would you recommend selling, even if not in a rush to sell?
Nope.
Well, I mean, again, we would go through the numbers. We would go through the numbers. We'd be like, all right, you bought this, 5 years ago. Here is what homes are selling for in your area, right? We go through the comps. We'll talk about. Let's just say you bought it for 400,000 5 years ago. Now a lot of the homes that are selling in your area are like close to 400,000, and it's like, do you want to sell? Like, it's up to you. But I mean, again, the numbers. What we can do is you can try it, right? You're not hurting yourself trying it, putting it on the market, seeing how the market's going to be and how they're going to react to it, right? There are homes that are on the market right now that are, priced very, very well, but they're not getting any offers on them. They're staying on the market for a while now, so they have to think like, how can we pivot off of that, right? So I mean, again, you got to go through the numbers. It's got to make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, then maybe you should just hold on to that particular property. So
Yeah, I
because
think.
like I said, yeah.
Oh, go
No,
ahead.
go ahead.
Sorry.
Sorry, that was it.
No. Okay. No, because you said, like I said, I don't know if you're going to say something repeating what you had already said. But I think we skipped a question. So I was just trying to read that one where it says, how many of you rely on Zillow or online
Uh,
estimates to determine value? Do you think those numbers are accurate or is there more to the story? I mean, I think Zillow and Redfin even tell you flat out on their website that they are inaccurate and not to rely on these numbers because they're just some automatically calculated algorithm. And nothing is going to replace a realtor who knows the market, who's in the market day in and day out, going into your home, taking a look at it, giving you suggestions, and telling you what your home would be worth in today's market, right?
any
So,
any agent, like, honestly, any agent that has worked on their business can go to any market. Like, you put me, as long as I can access your CRM, like, or I'm not your CRM, your MLS, I can go into any market, see what your home would sell for, take a look at your home and find out, and give you a number of what I would list it at. That's what I would do. But that's any market, because it doesn't matter. We've sold in many different counties: Alameda County, Solano County, Santa Clara County. It doesn't matter. We've sold in many of these areas. We've broken records before as well. But it's like, the strategy we put together is just putting in a little bit of work, putting in a little research in order for you to be like, all right, well, we're going to sell it for this much. We like to list it at these particular prices because it looks like, the market will showing a little favor in that area. Okay, sure. Worst case scenario, you can't sell it for that price that you want. Homes are still on the market. I see some. I think one I saw was 235 days. Looking today, and I think it was in the city of Stockton. 235 days. Like, what are they doing? Is it like somebody that doesn't live here in the Bay Area? They're like an out-of-state investor, and they just don't care that it's just sitting there. I don't know. But I looked at the pictures. I was like, that whoever the realtor is did not market it properly. And I love seeing people take pictures on their cell phone and like seeing them in mirrors, thinking that they can't be seen. Like, I want to start like a page that says, "Oops, gotcha." Where's the realtor? Right there, bam. And there are some listings I look at and I'm just like, I can't believe these people put this on the market the way that it looks. People take pictures of the ceiling, like you're oh my gosh, yeah. Realtor levels of realtor, it's just crazy the quality of work. So
okay, last question. So, in a seller's market, some believe you should always offer above the asking price. Is this the best approach or are there smarter strategies?
go ahead. I've been talking.
Highest price doesn't always win. I mean, we've written offers for buyers where we weren't the highest price, but we had the best terms and we were super competitive. And the seller picked our buyer's offer, even though they even had a home to sell or had a VA loan or, had all these things that were, some consider challenges when writing an offer. And some could consider that as like a handicapped. But we've been able to do it. You need to find out what's important to the seller and give them that. And so it's not always the highest price. You know, I've had sellers that we've represented that they didn't want investors in there. They wanted, you know, they didn't want just anyone in that home. Like this was like their family home. And, you know, it wasn't just about like the quick buck or the all cash offer or, you know, so it really just depends on, you know, what's important to the seller. Sometimes the seller needs extra time to move and someone's willing to give it to them because they're not in a rush to buy and they can afford to let the seller stay there for an extra week or months or whatever, right? So
Yeah, I mean, I think we've done it many times, right? You're right, Joraine. It does matter. You know, it does matter to the seller as well as it being an emotional to buy a home. It is also emotional to sell a home, right? Some of these people are selling their home for the first time, and it's like they have so many memories there. They're like, you know what? I want somebody to that's a family to do that, right? And again, it's not our motivation. That's their motivation. If they want to give it to whoever they want, then that's fine, right? There have been many times where we've gotten higher, like on the selling side, right? We've gotten higher offers, and the terms weren't great, right? Or the seller just didn't want to pick the highest one for whatever reason,
yeah, I
right?
mean,
I
the
mean, we're just
question,
specific,
it says,
yeah. So,
what if you're representing the seller and not the buyer? Which one would you accept the highest offer? No.
well,
I mean, we've had offers that were higher and the seller didn't expect them,
mhm,
accept them because there were all these terms attached to it and conditions, and it wasn't the best offer. Even though the price was the
right,
highest, there were still terms in there that were not ideal to the seller. So it's not just about having the highest price. Like people think that if they can't pay the highest price that they're automatically going to lose. That's not true. But you also have to be competitive. You can't be a person that's delusional and thinks that you can, you know, come in there super low and not even compete. There's a lot of things that go into writing an offer that is competitive.
yeah,
Price is one, but terms are
yeah,
another, right? And there's so many different terms. There's like 50 different things that you could write for
yeah.
terms. So,
We had a specific one in San Lorenzo, sold it probably the highest in that particular neighborhood. Um, you know, we give them options, and here we like, all right, here's what we received. Here are your options. If you do this, this is what will happen. If you do this, this is what will happen, right? This particular situation, all the comps showed what was it, 900, 915 was the highest. And then we ended up getting an offer at 950, right? No contingencies, and then we ended up getting another offer over $1 million, but it had all the contingencies. So then we had to tell the seller, hey, you can take the all cash one, perfectly fine. They'll close in 21 days, and that's fine. Or you can take an $80,000 risk and see if this other one that's listed over, I think it's $1,030,000 it was, right, and it has all these strings attached, right? 14-day, inspection. When we provided everything, right? So again, we understand, is that their best offer? We always tell them, we always ask them, say, hey, can they clean up some of these terms? I mean, because we have another offer that is, that is this. Can you do something to be competitive, right? And again, it's all about the negotiation part, right? Because if I can get my client another 80,000 and it match the terms of the other one, I'm perfectly fine with that, as long as everything makes sense. And again, the seller is still in the driver's seat. I will never tell a seller accept this one because it's going to yield you more money. I would never say that. I say, here are your options. You can choose to accept this 1,080,000, 1,030,000, or this 950. Totally up to you. Here are the risks when you're the risk you have when you have this one. Here are the risks you have with this one. At the end of the day, they can both say screw you and just get their offer accepted and not even perform and not submit their EMD, and now you're kind of SOL, right? So, but I mean, again, at the end, I'm always like, you know what? We call it hills and valleys, right? Once you get your offer accepted, that's one hill. Once you get all the contingencies over, that's another hill, right? Let's get past all these milestones because nothing is set in stone until they have keys in their hand and everything is all set and done and you're on record, right? Until you hear those words, I don't want to hear anything else. Let's keep on working to make sure we get to that goal. You're pressing on my face. Ow, ow,
sorry, sorry,
ow.
sorry. Sorry. Someone
I'm
was
just kidding.
calling me. Don't they know I'm live right now?
I know.
I'm like getting all these calls and all these messages. But all right, guess we got to go back to work. I know it's 6:30 and most of the world is not working anymore, but we got to get back to work. This was fun. Thank you guys for joining. And again, if you have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out to us anytime. We'd love to be a resource for you for anything real estate related. And so, yeah.
Don't forget, we have a referral program too. So if you guys know anybody that wants our services, that wants to work with us, let us interview them. Put them in front of us. I'm not a salesperson. I will tell you the real, the nitty gritty. If that works with them, then that's fine. If not, hey, get on your way and let's. I'll celebrate when you know get your home, and maybe we could sell your home after 2 years. So. Other than that, peace out. We're gonna be gone. We'll be in Dallas at a real estate conference. So, peace.